Good evening and welcome to HC Highlanders Live. I'm Jason Muker. I'm Associate Director of Athletics. I'm here with our Director of Athletics, Matthew Webb, and we thanks for joining us from each of our different studios in our home offices or wherever we are, and we thank you for joining us from around the globe. We have a great show tonight with an interview with Coach Webb interviewing our men's lacrosse head coach, Andrew Lundeen. That's coming up in a few minutes. Not a lot to report today, but some good things from the Empire 8. The Empire 8 Annual Commissioners Cup came out this week. It ranks all of our conference teams across how they finished in each of the sports, and we had our highest finish ever at fourth. It was a truncated spring season, but as you'll hear from Coach Lundeen and Coach Webb will talk a little bit about some of our spring teams we're doing well, and we probably would have anticipated a pretty high finish in the Commissioners Cup, even if the seasons weren't canceled. So that was disappointing. The seasons were canceled, but great news that we moved up into fourth in the Commissioners Cup. Other news that came out this week is there's an opening currently for women's basketball head coach. We have a national search underway. Head coach Alicia Muker resigned from her position after 8 seasons, so we're looking for a coach that can take over the women's basketball program. That's being advertised on our website, on the College Human Resources website, and in national locations. If you know of anybody, alums that are connected in the women's basketball coaching world, would be glad to hear from you on recommendations for coaches that will fit the program. So hopefully over the next few months, you'll be hearing some updates from that. So right now I'm going to turn over the show to our Director of Athletics, Matthew Webb.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. Yeah, just a couple thoughts. Another announcement that's pretty exciting. But first, just a little bit about Coach Muker resigning. For those of you that know Coach Muker, she's dedicated the last few years, 7 years, I think it was, to the women's basketball program and has done an outstanding job with that group. The culture that they have created and fostered is fantastic, and it's definitely a loss for our department. But we're also very confident that the Lord has led this way. And talking with Coach Muker, it's just very, very clear that this is the right move for her. And we're confident in that, and we trust that the Lord's going to bring the right person, just as he has done in prior searches in recent years. Has just brought some great new coaches to our department. So we're anticipating that again. I'm pleased to announce we at Houghton in the athletic department, our retail or our apparel supplier is AdPro. They're set up out of Buffalo. They're the primary suppliers for the Buffalo Bills and the Sabres, and that's who we work with for all of our gear, athletic gear that our teams use. And we actually just signed a contract yesterday with AdPro to continue that relationship and that partnership with them as our supplier. But we've also decided to go with Adidas. So we are now a single brand institution. And as we move forward, we will eventually get all of our teams outfitted in Adidas apparel. One of the main reasons for doing that is obviously Adidas is a longstanding sports apparel provider, and they can outfit every single one of our programs. It will bring some consistency, some sort of continuity between the look of all of our teams. They've got purple and gold. They've got our colors, and we're just excited to move forward with AdPro and Adidas as our new primary brand, that we will be a branded institution. So it's my pleasure today. I want to introduce you to our guest. Coach Andrew Lundeen is our guest tonight. Coach Lundeen is our head men's lacrosse coach. He has been here, let's see, was this spring your third year? Your fourth year? Fourth season. This spring was his fourth season. It was obviously a shortened spring season this year, but just want to sort of bring you into the men's lacrosse program a little bit tonight. It's one of our newer programs at Houghton, and hopefully you get to know Coach Lundeen here a little bit. But maybe just to start things off, Coach, well, I already answered the first question that I was going to ask you, how long you've been here. So you've been here 4 years now, just sort of wrapping up those 4 years. Before we get into some of the lacrosse stuff that I want to touch on, and I have some thoughts on the culture and the spirit of your team, but why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about sort of your family, your background in terms of your involvement in lacrosse and sort of how you've navigated to where you are today as the lacrosse coach here at Houghton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my family and I live here in Houghton. We've been moved into Centerville Road. So those of you that know Houghton know Centerville Road pretty well. So when we came, my wife made it pretty clear she wanted to be as close to campus as possible, and we made it a priority to make sure that I could get home if she needed. She was staying home with our kids, so we've really enjoyed kind of settling into the community. Prior to coming to Houghton, we were down in Maryland. Both my wife and I were teachers, and I was coaching. First,
obviously, just take a break here a second. Obviously, some of your players are watching.
Thanks, Jeff.
Maybe a little biased opinion here from Austin and Jack, but
we all know.
Thanks, Austin, for sharing. We appreciate it.
Facts there. Yeah, and so I started coaching first as an assistant for a JV program at North Point High School. I was there at the high school for 3 years. The second year, I was the head JV coach, and then the third year, I was the varsity assistant. And then the 3 years after that, some friends and I started the College of Southern Maryland's men's lacrosse program, which is a JUCO program. And we were there for 3 years until this position opened up. And I was lucky enough to land this job, and really excited to come back up to New York.
So what was the draw to Houghton for you to sort of make that move from Maryland and your position there and make the leap back here to Houghton?
Yeah. I grew up in Canandaigua, New York, so about an hour and a half from here. I ended up transferring to Houghton as a student, as a sophomore, and met my wife here. So we were both familiar with Houghton and knew what kind of Houghton stood for. And we were excited about the opportunity to coach in a school similar to what Houghton offers.
Well, let's dive into men's lacrosse at Houghton. And in your tenure here, how would you describe the culture of the men's lacrosse team at Houghton College? What would be some descriptive words, and what has been your sort of input into helping to create that culture? What are the important principles for you as you've developed and built this program?
Yeah, probably one of our core things when I came in was really reestablish the culture around family. We wanted to get the guys to buy into the lacrosse program truly becoming a family, and that by the time they leave here after being 4 years, that the guys on their team are their brothers. I'm a firm believer that if we have strong relationships off the field, we're going to be a way better team on the field, regardless of where our skill level is. And so that was the first thing that we really did. And our focus every day is we want guys to work hard, both on the field and in the classroom. We want them to show perseverance. When anything gets tough, again, on and off the field, we expect them to work through that. Being a relatively young program, things are going to be challenging, especially in a competitive conference that we're in. And we have definite goals that we're trying to reach, and we're excited about the way our season started this year and what that could have meant for us this year. But when things are difficult, we expect the guys to persevere through those. And then lastly, being men of integrity, both on and off the field. Those are probably the 3 pillars that we have right now that help define our culture.
Yeah, I've said to you before, I love, one of the things I like in my role is just sort of meandering about during practice times, and whether that be in the field house when everybody's in there together, or outside, and just sort of seeing what the teams are doing at practice. And I'll never forget, I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago now, but I was outside running practice with the men's soccer team, and you guys were over on the baseball team, and all of a sudden there was just this eruption over on the baseball field. And I'm like, what in the world is going on with the lacrosse guys? But you guys have fun. I mean, that's one thing I see in your team. You're loud. They cheer for each other. They get really, really excited for each other. I mean, how has that developed? How's that evolved? Is that something you've been intentional about? Other coaches sometimes get irritated with how loud you guys are when you're sharing the same space. But I love it. And I think it shows, I guess, a little bit of that family sense that you're trying to build, but that loudness and the fun, how have you built that into your program?
Yeah, I think that's a key part of playing sports. Obviously, we have goals and things we want to accomplish on the field. You're often judged by wins and losses, but at the end of the day, we want to enjoy what we do, and that starts in practice. You want to play in practice the way you're going to play in a game. And really, a lot of that energy comes from just the guys. We have a great group of guys. If they were on right now, they'd say, you got to let them know. That's their saying. And once guys start yelling that, things really start picking up. So this year was definitely a fun year, probably one of our loudest. I remember a practice where you stopped by and all the guys thought you're gonna yell at them for being too loud, and encourage them to get louder in the K-Pack, which was probably a little disappointing to some of the other coaches we were sharing the facility with.
Well, and I walked right over to the softball team as soon as I was done with you, and Coach Sinclair's like, "Can you tell the lacrosse guys to be quiet?" I was like, "No, I can't really do that. I just told them to ramp it up." So, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They were happy about that.
What are just share a couple stories. What are some of your favorite moments in coaching the team and this year or previous years? What are just some highlights for you that stand out?
Yeah, probably, thinking back, that first year, it all kind of mushes together. But obviously the highlight would be that first win here with Houghton. Was against Madai. I think it was a 17-5 win. Cold game. Another one that sticks out is a game against Ithaca. I think we were one of the only schools in Western New York to still play that night, where everyone was canceling their games, postponing games, moving indoors. And Ithaca really wanted to get that game in. So we had Dee standing on the sideline in 6 layers, holding her little phone, waiting for it to go below the level, the threshold where we couldn't play anymore. But we got that game in, and I think all the guys that played in that one would agree that's the coldest we've ever been, standing there on the sideline playing that game. And there's been just some great memories over the last 4 years. This year, we had an opportunity to travel out to California, and obviously the wins and losses, like we didn't have the results we wanted to in the games, but we had a great experience, and it was definitely something that brought our team closer. It's hard to imagine that we were out there, just probably 4 weeks ago, and now the way our country's in right now with all the travel ban and stuff, things changed pretty quick. So we were glad to be able to get that trip in, and everyone was healthy coming back. So I know there's if we were going to go
worked out, we debated.
Oh yeah,
that was right at the brink, the time of people trying to figure out what's going on, and we decided we did some research and we did our legwork, and we deemed it was okay to go. And I think there's some people nervous about it, but thankfully you guys all came home safe and all good. So
yeah, in hindsight,
except for Tom Woodward getting knocked out in the game.
That was the unfortunate part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I don't know. The trainer on the sideline cleared him to go back in. I mean, that's
not our trainer.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, talk a little bit, Andrew, about sort of this season and how just things have transpired and what it's like now. I mean, what's it like being a coach and your team's not here? How's the team doing? Their season was sort of ripped out from under them, especially for the seniors. That's got to be just gut wrenching. Mm-hmm. But how are the guys doing? How are they handling it? How are you guys staying connected as a team?
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. As a coach, it's a very face-to-face kind of job, right? You're used to having the guys at practice, preparing for games. So that's a huge adjustment of, creating relationships with your current team and fostering those relationships over the internet and over the phone. So my assistant coach and I have been making sure we're keeping up just with the guys, just checking in, just seeing how life's going. We've done some Zoom conference meetings of just one giving out some information, and the other one is just letting the guys check in with each other, see each other's faces, and share some thoughts. And typically when we have our department meetings, we mute everyone so that everyone can hear whoever's talking. One of our meetings, we just let everyone unmute, and it's crazy, but that's what we're used to with the men's lacrosse team. So it was more like normal for us. So that was a lot of fun, but definitely a huge disappointment. I remember, you could start seeing things come out about potentially losing the season or season coming to an end and potentially going online and sending kids home. And we had just played a game on a Tuesday, had a good win. We met Wednesday and just did film and gave a little rest day because we had played a lot of games over the last week and a half. And then Thursday, Coach Butler and I kind of realized that this is probably going to be our last one, and we wanted to approach it as, hey, let's just approach it like any practice, just enjoy the time together. And it quickly became much more than that, and it was a great opportunity. We ended up combining with the girls team and kind of had a scrimmage with both teams combined, and that was a lot of fun. And then we got that they call the game of lacrosse a medicine game in the Native American culture, and we just got an opportunity to just put our pads back on and just compete against each other in sixes. So it was a good opportunity, and definitely one that was hard. A lot of emotions, especially once practice kind of wrapped up for everyone really, but especially the seniors. You want to have a say in your last game, and that was kind of taken away from them. Like we had a good last game, but we didn't know it was going to be our last. We were preparing for our next one, so that was difficult for them for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of the seniors, I remember meeting with, it was all the spring sports seniors whose seasons were cut short, but just was really impressed with how those folks handled it. And one of your seasons, Austin, who actually commented here earlier, was one of the seniors that shared some thoughts with the rest of his class, and just really impressed with the young men in your team. Speaking of Austin, I'll never forget, I don't remember who you were playing, but I'll never forget the goal. It was at home. I was there on the sideline, and someone stole the ball. It was sort of a transitional moment, and I think Austin had the ball, and he just took off down the field, which led to a goal. He's not the one who scored it. He might not even have been the one who assisted. I can't remember. Right. But I'll never forget seeing him like it was a good goal. It was a good build-up, and he was part of it. But, man, he celebrated like you just won a championship. And thought, hey, like you're only winning 5-2 or whatever it was. I don't know what point in the game was. But you could just see the joy and the excitement for each other, on the field. And that's just really, really neat to see.
Yeah, he definitely brings a lot of energy and a lot of emotion. And if you watch any of our film, he's sometimes celebrating before the goal's even scored. We've seen that in a couple of posts we put out. Not surprising there, Shaq.
Almost tore his ACL. Hamstring, definitely.
Oh, don't bring up his hamstring. And that's tough part is like having the season come to an end. Shaq is a fifth-year senior, was here as a freshman, transferred, went and played at a JUCO and then a D2, and then came back, and a unique situation for sure, and just something for him. And seniors like Quinn Hall and Tom Woodward, who've been here all 4 years since I've been here. They were the only freshmen from that first class that I came in that I didn't even recruit because I came in October. That was really difficult to see them, especially have it end the way they did. Quinn Hall took off the fall semester, put his life kind of on hold so he could come back, take one more class to graduate. And, Tom Woodward got hurt, like you mentioned, out in California. And so, a difficult way for potentially their careers to end. And, I think a lot of seniors all over the country are just kind of considering what they're going to do and what next year really holds. And there's a lot of uncertainty and unknown with the opportunity that they have.
Right. Well, Andrew, we're going to wrap up here quick, but I want to finish with one last question, and that's what's the best thing, as you see it, about being the men's lacrosse coach at Houghton College?
Yeah, without a doubt, it's just the relationships that I've been able to build with the players that I have. Since I've been here, I've been in contact with so many of just the guys who've graduated and moved on, and we've connected in different places. I've been down in DC and met up with two guys that graduated in my first year here. And so that's just been the greatest part. I think that's what drew me to wanting to be a coach, is just the relationships. Obviously, there's a love for the sport of lacrosse and a love for just sports in general. But coaching just provides a great opportunity to build relationships and really go into something where games are really an opportunity for players to show where they are level wise. And I tell our guys a lot, like, losses fall on me, wins are all because you guys were able to take care of that. And so it's just been a lot of fun. That's the struggle right now is not having those relationships like we're used to. Having the guys in their stretching lines and just checking in with each other and hearing them talk, and that's the weird part of this time right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's hard. I like I said, I was impressed with that group of seniors that we met with. You could tell it was emotional. It was gut wrenching. Just to think about potentially not putting on the pads or, the uniform again and representing Houghton. And I know some of our seniors are contemplating potential graduate school and playing, and I know there's even some thinking about doing that at Houghton and coming back and potentially playing. But that's a big decision,
For sure.
to decide to do that, and so there are potential options, but for the most part, most of our seniors, it was probably the last time they're going to put on the Houghton purple and gold again, and so that's tough. But well, thanks, Andrew, for being with us tonight. It's sort of fun getting a little insight and seeing Austin there participating and listening in, and so I hope you guys enjoyed it. All you men's lacrosse players out there watching your coach, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. We've got another guest. We'll get that announcement out here shortly. But thanks again, Coach, and
Absolutely.
everyone have a good evening.